Hey everybody, continuing with jQuery. In this lesson, we are going to learn its syntax. So almost everything we do with jQuery is going to start with a $sign. So the basic syntax of jQuery is the $sign, then a selector, dot, and action, open and close parentheses. So let's look at this with more detail. So first, let's talk about the selector. So to select elements using jQuery, we use pretty much the same selectors we use with CSS. So if you want to select all elements with a class of example, you can just do it like this. So dot example, so same thing as CSS. If you want to select all P elements, you can just use P. If you want to select an element with the ID of hamburger icon, you can use the hashtag, so just like you do it with CSS. And the actions mentioned above are jQuery methods. So let's start learning a few of these methods. And in this first example, we are going to hide all these elements. So let's go to the inspector and see what they have in common. So they all have this class of example. We also have this button with an ID of hide. So when we click this button, we are going to hide all elements with a class of example. So let's go to Visual Studio Code to see how can we do this with jQuery. So let's remember that in the previous lesson, we made the link to jQuery. So now we have it loaded in our page, so we can start using its methods. So let's start with a $sign. As I've mentioned, pretty much everything we do with jQuery is going to start with a $sign. So how do we select elements with jQuery? Well, the first thing we want to do is selecting that button with an ID of hide. So we can do it like this, so using the same selector as we would do in CSS. And now to set the onClick event, it's a bit different in jQuery than in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, the name of this event is onClick, but in jQuery, the name of the event is just click. We are going to talk about events with more details in the next lessons. So the name of the event is just click. And the way we do it is also a bit different. So in JavaScript, we would use the equal sign and then create a function. But with jQuery, this is a bit different. The click is actually a method. So we should just open and close parentheses like this. And inside this method, we need to pass the function that we want to be executed when this click event is detected. So the way we do it is just creating a function inside here. So function, open and close parentheses, open and close curly braces, and then let's press enter so we can get started here. So every time you see jQuery code, you will see that normally it ends with this curly braces, parentheses, and semicolon. So it may be a bit complicated, but if we do it like we just did, so like this, then it's not complicated anymore because we can see that the function is actually an argument inside this click method. So this is the argument of the function. And then we just break lines so we can write the code for this function inside. So this is what's going to happen every time it detects the click event in this button. So what do we want to do? We just want to hide all elements with a class of example. So this is pretty simple to do with jQuery. So again, $sign, open and close parentheses. To select all elements with that class, we just use the CSS selector, so dot example. And again, this is a bit different in JavaScript. We would use the style property, but with jQuery, the name of the property is CSS. And then this is also a method. So the way this method works is the following. We are going to pass two arguments. The first argument is going to be the name of the CSS property. So the name of the property is display. And the second argument is the value. So the value is going to be none. So by doing this, it is just going to set display none. Let's see if this is working. Let's save this. Refresh the page. So now when we click hide, we can see that all those elements are now gone. So in this example, we can see that with jQuery, we can simplify things. Of course, in the beginning, it's a bit more complicated because the syntax is a bit different than what we are used to in JavaScript, but we are using way less lines of code to do this. Let's remember that to do this in JavaScript, we would need to start a loop, and this was going to be much more complicated. So with jQuery, this is way easier to do, but actually we can even simplify it a bit more. And this is because jQuery already has a hide method. So we don't even need to set CSS display none because jQuery has a hide method that is going to do exactly the same thing. So going back to our code, instead of setting CSS display none, we can just call the hide method that is going to do exactly the same thing. So let's save this. Let's refresh the page and try it again. So as you can see, we have the same result with just this very short code. If you want to learn more ways of selecting elements with jQuery, I've just included this table where you can see a few more ways of selecting elements. So if you want to be more specific, like instead of selecting all elements with a class of example, if you just want to select all div elements with that class, you can do it like this. So this is pretty much what we do in CSS. So same thing, if you want to select the first li element inside every ul element, this is how you do it. So if you use a space, this means that the li here is the child of the ul, and then we're just using this pseudo first child class. So here we have a few more interesting examples. So if we want to do something with just the even elements or the odd elements, so let's say we have this table. Let's inspect this table just to check it out. We have these table rows, which are the tr elements. If we want to do something just with the even ones, so 0, 2, 4, 6, we could select it like this with jQuery. We could also do the same thing with the odd rows. So again, this is just CSS selector. So pretty much everything you can do with CSS, you can also do with jQuery to select elements. So this was all I wanted to show you for now. We are going to have more opportunities to practice using jQuery to do a lot of cool stuff. Now, just one last note that I wanted to leave here before we finish this lesson. Being a bit confused at this point is normal. So we've been working with pure JavaScript or vanilla JavaScript in the past few lessons. We've done many exercises and examples. We've done a project using JavaScript. And now we're just changing the way we write code. So I know it can be a bit confusing. Like, let's see these examples here. In JavaScript, if we want to set the onClick event, we just do onClick equals and then the function. And with jQuery, it's a bit different. The name of the event is not onClick, but click, and the function goes inside the parentheses. And the same thing for changing the CSS with JavaScript. We've just used the element.style.property and then the value after the equal sign. But with jQuery, the name of the method is CSS, and inside it we pass two arguments, one for the property and one for the value. So this is slightly different. I know it can be a bit confusing, but don't worry too much because in a short period of time, jQuery's syntax is going to become natural to you. From this moment on, we are going to use much more jQuery than pure JavaScript. So while jQuery's syntax does not become natural to you, don't forget that Google is always there for us anytime we have any doubts. So if you are unsure about how to use the onClick event in jQuery, you can just go to Google and type jQuery onClick event, and then you can just click in the first search result, or even better, we have a result for W3 schools, which we are familiar with. We know the explanations are great. So as you can see, this is right here. There's no need to worry. You can just copy this, paste it in your code, and use the click event. So that was all I wanted to say for now. In the next video, we are going to start learning how to do DOM manipulation with jQuery. I'll see you then.